What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot and what we promise to be an absolute banger of an episode. I'm Bladen Kirk, joined as always by my two greatest and most favorite co-hosts of all time in Matthew Sponauer and Theo Ash. We are in Los Angeles, California, and it's going to be an absolute great episode. We're going to talk about the Thursday night Chiefs-Chargers game, which, by the way, game of the year, absolutely. And then we're just going to talk about the COVID protocols a little bit, because it has been a little weird. We're looking at maybe an NBA shutdown, and some people are saying that NFL games should be postponed. But Matt and Theo, before we get into all of that, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. I really appreciate you calling us your most favorite.
I'm feeling very I'm feeling very real. You know, we're in person, and I don't see these two. I've only seen them one other occasion, and that was in Las Vegas. So it's always weird to make a physical appearance where everyone is in person and we're interacting outside of just silly little guys on my screen. So.
I feel very official. Yeah, we're like in a studio for the first time. This is only the second episode we've ever done in person. And the first one was kind of like we were like at Summer League.
We were in the concourse.
And people could like hear us doing the podcast live. And that was weird.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until we were done, and I'm glad I didn't know that.
I wish I had known. I thought that was super cool. Like, I don't know.
It's stressful to me.
But as always, make sure you leave a review. Actually, not as always. This is a new feature. Spotify has a new feature where you can review podcasts on Spotify. And we know a lot of our listeners are on Spotify. So if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you leave a review. Help us grow this podcast. And make sure you follow @StayHotPod on TikTok for some great content there. We've been kind of relaying the whole trip on TikTok. So make sure you go see some of that. But while we've been in LA, we got the chance to see the game of the year, Chiefs versus Chargers.
I'm not sure if it's quite the game of the year.
I would say it's.
I was there, so it's got to be. You know,
and we met an amazing Chiefs fan, Jared.
No, it was a super sick game. I mean, it was prime time. We knew it was Chargers Chiefs. We knew it was going to be Herbert and Mahomes. So it's like, all right, this could be a really good game, but you never know when it could just, be really lame or whatever. But it was awesome. It's the first overtime game I've ever seen in any sport in person, outside of maybe a high school football game one time.
I was about to say, we've gone to overtime.
That doesn't count. And I had a Mahomes bet over 2.5 touchdowns. He went in the fourth quarter with 0, and it still hit.
10 minutes left in the game, he had 0.
In the last 10 minutes of that game, Patrick Mahomes went 10 for 13 for 197 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's with 10 minutes left. He did not have any of those stats. And in fact, he was playing poorly.
He was playing bad.
Yeah.
He was.
And this is a game that's very interesting. It's interesting to grade Mahomes this year because he has not been precise at all. Like the short game, the quick stuff, the layups, this whole year, they just haven't been connecting the placement. And even when there have been some picks that have been dropped, but the placement on some of those hasn't been great. Like if there were perfect placement, you wouldn't have so many dropped picks. And that's not all Mahomes' fault because the wide receiver should catch those passes, right? Mm-hmm. It's not all his fault. No. If the placement isn't perfect and a pick is there, like it's not the worst throw in the world. But all year, Mahomes' placement has not been great. It wasn't great in the last game, but you still can never ever count the Chiefs out with him at the helm. There were a couple times when Joey Bosa just had him dead to rights and it turned into a big play for the Chiefs. Yeah. So it's like, man, you kind of live with it.
He's the opposite of Tom Brady. He doesn't always make the right read. I mean, there was a touchdown he had. I don't know who he had wide open, but he just missed an easy touchdown.
It was on that one where he got was it Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the end zone? And
they motioned someone across the field and then he did a shovel pass instead. I don't know if that was the design of the play, like hit the shovel pass, but if it's the guy in motion who went into the flat, no one went with him. It would have been I could have scored a touchdown on that play.
But and he had some bad placement on some passes where it's like it was still completion, but he could have given his guy a chance to break off a touchdown. There were a few.
There was one to Hardman, and I think there was another to Hill on a slant route that was like.
And then he had one that was like a comically bad miss to somebody just out on a flat, where it just like it was a skip pass.
Yeah.
But for every play like that, he has one where he just runs around so long and buys so much time that the secondary has no hope of covering guys for 8 seconds, and it creates a big play. Whereas with Brady, always making the right read, always making the right pass. Not so much with the Mahomes, but they're never out of game.
Can I talk about Rodgers for a little bit? Rodgers does both.
You think he's the combination of the both?
Yes, he is. He
Best
is
of both worlds.
like he's both. And Mahomes has been both before. And Rodgers has been not precise before in especially like 2017, 18, 19. There was a stretch there where Rodgers was a little wonky and not efficient. But I just want to appreciate like Rodgers does all the Mahomes stuff, but he's also incredibly just precise in the quick game and one of the best quick game quarterbacks ever. So shout out Rodgers. Watching Mahomes this year has made me because Mahomes has turned the ball over a lot. Rodgers never has seasons like that ever, while also having the high end stuff. So this is me making it about the Packers, which I don't do that often, but I'm going to do it now. There was one other play. It was the 2-point conversion that they needed to hit to tie the game. Mahomes screwed that up like twice before getting it right. The first read was, I think, again, Hardman in the flat, and he was open, and he didn't throw it. And you can watch Hardman. He jumped up and down like, oh, my God, why didn't you throw it? And then you got Hill crossing the field, and it would have been kind of a cross-the-field throw and maybe a little bit risky, but Hill was open, and Mahomes can hit it.
Yes.
And especially when in person, like watching that, you're like, oh, my God, he's wide open. So he didn't take that either. So those are two open things that he did not take. And then he opted to take like the most difficult throw available, which was like a contested one to Edwards-Helaire. And so he screwed it up twice, and it still worked out.
You know who he reminds me of? This is like if Johnny Manziel had worked out.
Oh boy,
that's what it is. Where some of these
just like not partying.
Some of these
the
plays where it's like he doesn't necessarily make the right first read. And this is just last game. I'm not saying this is all the time.
Yes,
but he wouldn't necessarily make the right read. But if you can run around long enough and buy enough time, it's unstoppable. You can't beat that.
Right.
I also wanted to bring up Travis Kelce because I think he had a career high in yards. I saw somebody say that to me. I could be totally
He had like
wrong.
40 fantasy points.
He had 191.
He had 191, which is a lot, regardless. And it was really funny watching him in person on those plays because if you look on the broadcast angle, it didn't look like he was going to score on those, and then he kind of did. And it really looked like that in person. It was hilarious. It's like, I guess they're just, you said this, I guess they're just not going to tackle him. I guess they're not going to get him.
The angles they took were all wrong, and it looked like it was happening in slow motion. When it happened, it's like, oh, he's still going. There he goes. No one is taking a good angle towards him. And I don't know how much of that is the Chargers defense being bad and Kelce just knowing leverage and
where to run.
He just knows where to run.
It really felt like that safety, especially on the game-winning touchdown, that last safety just made a business decision.
And it happened earlier when he went on. He got tackled at the 1.
Yeah.
And there was a penalty on the play, and we thought it was going to be him because he like kind of ran a dude over in his route, and we thought it might be on that, but it wasn't. And there too, it's like, man, he doesn't like look like he's like, oh my God, what an athlete in the open field, like you do with maybe even Kittle and Kelce versus Kittle. Like Kittle will like run guys over and like, holy cow, what an athlete, or like Pitts. Kelce doesn't really have that. He just understands. And the other thing about Kelce, have any of you guys ever seen Kelce like win vertically?
No.
Ever. It doesn't happen. Like him going on a deep shot up the seam or like I'm sure you can find clips and be like, but like it doesn't happen often where he like beats a team over the top. Kyle Pitts against the Dolphins did it like 3 times in one game. Kelce is just and Kittle does it too. He'll like hit a fade route and like moss a guy. Gronk in the
even Mark Andrews, I would say beats.
Vertically. Kelce just doesn't do that. He wins on these crossing routes. He wins just like going horizontally. People can't keep up with him. The linebackers and safeties, when he turns quickly, linebackers can't. Safeties are too small, and he just understands. He's a lot like Kupp.
He just knows where to be. And he is good after the catch. I don't care. I know he's not the fastest. I know he's not the strongest. But if you're running at perfect angles so where no one can get you, like you saw the broadcast angle of that last play, that was a good run. He didn't get touched. There were a lot of guys in the way. He cut up through the middle really well.
Yeah, he got around like 5 guys untouched.
And he's got 1,000-yard seasons, I think 6 years in a row.
Yeah.
Statistically, he's going to make another All-Pro, and that'll give him 5?
Yeah, he's
more
5.
than Gronk. I don't think he's better than Gronk. Like if I was going to get a tight end,
I would want Gronk.
I'd want Gronk. And I think Kittle is better right now. I do. And it's 1A and 2A. We
were talking about this earlier. If you switched Kittle and Kelce, Kittle would be unstoppable.
I don't think it would be a debate if you switched them. I feel like Kittle would be clear, but it's a silly debate because they're both so good.
I do hate hypotheticals, but like, come on.
I think Kelce is still a little underrated. I understand the Kittle argument, and obviously Kelce does benefit from playing with Patrick Mahomes. You know, I'd rather play for Patrick Mahomes than Jimmy Garoppolo or with him. But Kelce does a really good job of knowing where to be, and we've been talking about the Jaguars receivers a lot. The exact opposite of never knowing where to be.
Ever.
You know, you can be a big athlete and whatnot, and I think Kittle probably doesn't get the targets that he should. But there's a reason why you have 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons as a tight end, which probably has never been done before. I'm going to guess that it's never been done before.
And if Kelce was not on, if he were to get hurt, I think the Chiefs would be so screwed. Because all their wide receivers are the same guy. Like, Hill's the best version of them.
You talk about like, oh, he doesn't really do the vertical stuff a ton. Well, that's because that's everyone else's job.
Right.
He's all the intermediate stuff.
Yeah. And if that were to be taken away, they need, every great wide receiving core has variety with speed and possession. Like, if you need a layup, you've got a guy. If you need a deep shot, you've got a guy.
Right.
Like, that is just how you should build a wide receiving core instead of a bunch of fast guys. That's why I hate the Chiefs. They need a big, like, if they can get Drake London, if they can get,
oh my god,
they need someone big. They need someone a wide receiver who is not.
Drake London's just another tight end, man. I didn't like He's just another tight end.
We'll see, but they need someone. And if Kelce were to go down, Hill is great, and I love. And Hill had a great game as well.
He did,
and he's not just a speed guy, but they need Kelce so bad.
Kelce's amazing. But we've talked a lot about the Chiefs. Let's talk a little bit about the Chargers. Yes. Justin Herbert, in particular, I think outplayed Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, I'd agree.
You know, and Theo, you talk about Herbert being a top 3 quarterback a lot of the time. He looked like it.
He's every bit as good as Mahomes is.
He made better throws. That one throw you posted on Twitter. I think it was to Jared Cook. A lot of quarterbacks making that throw on the sideline, it's an interception because that DB got up there.
Yeah, I mean, that was a whole shot in, I think, cover 2, and he took a bunch of those. He hit one to Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen ran like a wheel, and then Eckler kind of came in behind. And almost every quarterback, when Eckler was running into the flat, just takes the flat shot. Like, just, okay, there's some yards there maybe.
Yeah.
But Herbert wants more, and Herbert always wants more. And when he wants more, he usually gets it. All right. And the throw to Keenan Allen, the touchdown late in the game, he's hit that twice in the last 3 weeks where Keenan Allen, there's no window there. It's getting picked by the linebacker who's sitting on it if any other quarterback throws that. But Herbert just has a cannon and can just fit it into windows that other guys can't. And that whole last drive, he was just bombing. Like, these balls had some juice on it. And it's why velocity is like such a big thing. Because it just opens things up that other quarterbacks
we were talking about, he took a shot to Keenan Allen on their last drive before punting it back to the Chiefs. And was that pass interference?
It's hard to tell.
It really was hard to tell. Yes.
I don't think so. It would have been dumb for them to have won the game on that.
I would have hated to have seen it go down like that, where it's like, oh wow, of course.
It seemed like they kind of got tripped up.
I do still think Mahomes is better than Herbert.
Yeah,
that might be true, but
I would agree.
I think Mahomes' biggest, like, he played great and he looked bad playing great. It looks goofy. It's just weird. It's just he's running around and then something gets open, but that escapability is like unbelievably.
He made so many mistakes, and yet he still made up for it
because he can make
Mahomes.
so many plays.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter.
And I know Kelce's great. I know Hill is great, but there's really no difference between being able to run around and figuring out the 2-point conversion on the 4th read and getting it on the 1st.
I thought the Chargers outplayed the Chiefs in this game. I thought that they looked more consistent from front to back, and they happened to lose because of the 4th down conversion problems that they were having. They didn't take the points. They wanted more, and it went into overtime when they could have won in regulation. And that decision is obviously, the word analytics always creates a firestorm, and going for it on 4th down and real football versus spreadsheet football. I like the Chargers going for it. I know that after it hadn't worked and you do it again and it doesn't work again, I understand questioning it. It's worth the conversation for sure. But at the end of the day, your offense is so good and there's so many good players there. I feel like getting the yard is easier than stopping the Chiefs' offense, and I don't blame Staley for doing it.
And we have to. They also had, I think it was a third down where they tried to jump over the top.
Yes, their short yardage offense was not good.
Yeah, they just could never get 1 yard, but they could get 20.
Well, and I think if your short yardage offense does struggle that much, that has to play into the decision to kick a field goal. I think personally that they lost because they got the ball back with 1:16, 2 timeouts, needing anything, and they couldn't get it.
Yeah,
that's what lost them the game. What?
Herbert sucks. He should have scored in that situation.
Means he's not top 3.
I am just saying. That's a situation you have to win the game, and it is overtime rules suck. Herbert should have gotten the ball. Like, the Chargers should have gotten the ball. The game would have been so much better for it. But you had the ball 1:16, 2 timeouts. You need anything, and
field goal.
You have to get a shot in that situation. At home against a division rival like that. I mean, biggest game of the season. That's a huge drive. And
well, you say at home, but honestly, did it feel like a Chargers home game? We got to talk about
this stadium, dude. SoFi is a very, very weird stadium. It is absolutely nothing like a traditional football stadium at all. It doesn't have the same feeling. It doesn't have the same look.
It feels like a mall. If you've ever been to my Minnesota people, I'm from Minnesota. The Mall of America is the closest way I can describe walking into SoFi, where it's kind of, open and you've got the glass kind of roofs and it's kind of drafty in there. There's like a wind. It's not a closed stadium.
Yes.
It's drafty and it's windy, but you're inside. The roof kind of leaked, because it's more of a cover than like a roof.
It would be a 10 out of 10 if we didn't get leaked on a little bit. That makes it a 9 out of 10.
Yes, like a drop every 10 minutes or so would come and hit me in the head. But it was, the lighting on the field is super weird. It's like watching a movie.
Yes.
It's not a very loud stadium. This is like the biggest game the Chargers have played regular season wise in a long time, and it was not even close to being full. And it filled out a little bit more, but it was half Chargers fans, half Chiefs fans, and a lot of empty seats.
It was, and yeah, I mean, it did fill in a little bit towards the end, but way more empty. Like, again, I'm going back to the Pack. I'm on Packers shit this episode, but Lambeau Field is sold out every game for the last 60 years. This was not sold out, and this is a huge.
If you're not selling this out,
here's one thing we maybe haven't thought about, and I'm just thinking about it now. We talk about how this stadium is built kind of like a mall or an arena. Maybe people just weren't in the seats.
I don't know, dude. It was in overtime. There was still empty seats.
Guess
so if you're at the Chargers team store while Mahomes is driving down the field, you're basically not at the game at that point.
I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair.
Yeah, I do think that maybe, Bladen, if everyone who's out in the concourses and at the bars watching was in the stadium, maybe you might be onto something there. But still, it was not a ton of Chargers fans there for the amount.
No, absolutely.
No, it was just as loud for the Chiefs as it was for the Chargers. It seemed, I didn't look even, but it sounded
in
even,
our section, and then given we were behind the Chiefs bench, but
that's
it
true.
Was all Chiefs.
There were a lot of Chiefs fans there. Also, the lighting was awesome. The lighting,
cool.
I feel like we've kind of shit on SoFi a little bit.
No, it's a sick stadium.
It's a nice stadium. It's just a weird stadium in that it's not.
It doesn't feel like you're at a football game until you get to the field and you're like, oh, there's football.
Yeah, there's football on, and it was a ton of fun at that game. The seats were comfortable, and it was one of my favorite sporting events that I've attended.
That's the big thing about it. They have
it just feels like a mall
for every seat.
It feels like you're in a mall. It feels like a game happening in a mall. It's weird, but
if you go to the Packers Stadium, Lambeau, or if you go to Ohio State Stadium, it's completely different feeling. It's like the difference between a basketball game and a football game, as far as noise level goes. But all the facilities are really awesome.
Food was good.
It was definitely
the food was really good.
Yeah.
So it had a lot more going for it, but it's not like a traditional football stadium, and it's not the same experience as a traditional football stadium at all.
It was more like a social event.
A little bit more basketball-y. So that's our review of SoFi. Overall, pretty good.
Overall, pretty good. Yeah.
The lighting really was cool, and I like the big ring. The big ring.
Oh, dude,
thing.
It's so sick.
Absolutely.
I liked that.
Overall, amazing. And
it wasn't too distracting. I look at Jerry World. I haven't seen a game in Dallas, but that screen is so big. I feel like it would be distracting. I was distracted by the scoreboard, which I feel like is a good thing. I sometimes think like the one in Dallas is like too big. Like
it was really cool. I wish the pictures we took did it justice. I feel like they did not.
No, not even close.
No.
You have to be there. But, at this rate, there might not be anyone to go to enjoy SoFi Stadium the way COVID protocols are going. In particular, like the Browns have like 30 dudes inactive.
Well, the NFL's not stopping.
No, the NFL's
not stopping, but there are just a lot of...
It's rough right now. I mean, the Browns are going to be on their third string quarterback. The Panthers might be on their third. I mean, they might be playing a running back at quarterback. I don't know if that's really going to change the outcome of their games. But I mean, there's just a ridiculous amount of... We had Chris Jones didn't play last night, did he?
We got lucky that most of the start. Keenan Allen was there, Tyreek, Kelsey, both quarterbacks, Tyrann Mathieu. Like, we got to see most of the stars, which Slater was out, Chris Jones was out. But, we got lucky that we saw a real football game instead of what is waiting for us kind of in the week.
Sunday, it's going to be.
And it's going to happen in the playoffs. And I wonder what they'll do.
You can't not play them.
You can't not play it. So the team that wins the Super Bowl this year is going to not be the most talented team. It's going to be the most disciplined team.
Yeah, I was going to say, and this is something we talked about this during the NBA playoffs. Like, everyone's like, oh, well, the Suns got lucky. No, they just took care of themselves.
You know who that sounds like it bodes well for?
The New England Patriots.
The New England Patriots. I would suspect that.
And right now, they don't have many positive tests at this current moment.
Well, neither do the Buccaneers.
And neither do the Buccaneers. The Patriot way is to not get COVID.
I'm thinking that does bode well for Bill Belichick and the way that he leads his teams. And I think the Patriots are a little sneaky in the playoffs.
They're the
one seed.
No,
so
the Chiefs are now.
Oh, the Chiefs are. Okay,
but they could beat this Chiefs team. If Mahomes has an off game, the Patriots defense is likely to force a game like that. And the way the Chiefs offense has looked all year, I don't trust them to just slice and dice the Patriots defense. And then you got the Chiefs defense, who's played very well, but man, it's like defense will probably be good.
And the Patriots can run the ball really well.
And you know who cannot run the ball really well, or at least did not when we watched? The Chiefs.
Yeah,
they were going up against a bad rushing defense that the Chargers
made
had.
Jerry Tillery look like an all-star out there.
He did play a good game.
But the Chiefs do seem very. I guess it's easy to say, like, we're sitting here like the Chiefs played worse. They did all these things wrong. Mahomes did all this. They still won the game on the road.
Yeah.
Probably going to win the division because of it. Probably going to be the 1 seed. So maybe we're being too critical of them. But it does not seem like there's some unstoppable juggernaut. You can see the flaws that they have. They're far from perfect.
And a team that ran really well on them was the Chargers. The Chargers probably ended with 200 rushing yards in this game.
Yes.
So, they definitely have their weaknesses. I do think that this all kind of bodes well, although it might be better to just get the COVID out of the way now. Like, if teams rocked by COVID now, you think maybe the players are a little bit, although with COVID, it doesn't even seem to matter. People just seem to get it anyway.
Yeah.
But like, it might be better to kind of get all your star players out now if you're a playoff team. Like the Packers have had Rodgers already. I feel glad that we got rocked with COVID a little bit earlier in the year instead of like right now. Knock on wood, but just the thought of how that complicates things.
I'm nervous, man. I gotta be real. Like, as a Browns fan, and I know that's like the running joke on our TikTok right now. Every time we post something and someone comments, as a Browns fan. But no, like, we have so many guys out, and we're 7-6.
Yeah, you're in the playoffs now. Not really, but basically. It's not some huge...
these are our playoff games, these last few games of the season.
Yeah.
And we have to win them. Like,
Yeah.
we play the Bengals the last week of the season. That will probably determine whether or not we make the playoffs, is that last game against the Bengals.
Yeah. I wonder if what could help the Browns get in the playoffs if the Ravens really fall apart here.
And they might.
Stretch.
I mean, Lamar didn't practice today.
It's just not their season. There's some years where it's like, and I believe in the talent overall on the team, but since the start of the year, they have just been crushed by injuries.
They have, and they just haven't. Their turnover differential is bad. They're winning games in ways that are not like, wow, what a great team. They're like, holy cow, you guys are
It's
lucky.
like Justin Tucker hit the longest field goal ever against the Lions.
The Colts, the Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled. Like they're a good team. They can certainly roll into the playoffs and beat somebody. Are they going to win 4 in a row? Like,
Yeah.
And even like if Lamar is out for a long time, or if he's just even bothered by that ankle, is he going to be someone that is? I mean, even with the way he's played recently, it hasn't been very good. So it's like, yeah, the Ravens are just not you want to be playing your best football in December. You do. The Ravens are not in the best place they've been.
No.
And not a lot of teams are right now with COVID, but
Yeah.
it's just they're not. Momentum as a concept in general is something that I have kind of pushed back against, but you do want to be playing your best football in December. Getting things figured out is a real thing. And like maybe team momentum week to week and like fixing issues on the fly is more of a real thing than something that happens in game.
Now is the time to be healthy. Now is the time to be, playing at a consistently high level.
Yep.
And the only teams that look to be doing that are the Patriots and Buccaneers.
Packers are playing good.
Yeah, there's some
Healthy,
other
though.
teams.
Yeah.
Healthy?
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to be 100% healthy. It's the NFL.
I guess that's fair.
I think the league that I'm really worried about is the NBA. Now, the NBA could shut down. And I got a little bit of pushback when I said this on Twitter. And I don't think it's an unpopular opinion I've seen other people say it. The NBA could shut down.
They did it before.
They've done it before. And we're just getting to the point. I mean, it's nearing on 10% of players
Good
being
Lord.
out. And that doesn't seem like a lot. That is a lot. And it's every morning I wake up to Shams and
Woj.
Woj. I wake up to those guys talking about how there's new players out.
Yeah.
And it's major players. And then I saw some like Kevin Knox is out with COVID, and then someone posted a picture of him talking to Curry. And so it's like,
Yeah, they play games like in the NFL. You get a week to kind of like reassess. You get time. In the NBA, if one guy has it, like what can you gotta? Tomorrow's the game, and tomorrow's the game after that. So it's like there's not enough time to like reassess where you're at or like get some time off to get healthy. It's a disaster.
Yeah. No, so I think you'll get to the point where, because they already did kind of show, hey, here's our limit with the Bulls, because they postponed those games when the Bulls basically had, they had like 9 guys out, 10 guys out or something. So I do think it would take a lot more, but this is one of those things that can pick up steam very quickly. It can go from 10% to 40%.
Yes.
I think if it's every team is missing major players, it gets suspended. They've let them play a little bit. Like the Hornets had 7 guys out or 5 guys out, and they let them go. But there is some limit there. What I don't think will happen is there will be another bubble.
There won't be,
There
and
will
the
not
players
be
will
another
not
bubble.
go to it.
They wouldn't want that.
The bubble barely worked in 2020.
And that was when everyone was very bought in to the pandemic in 2020, and everyone was taking it extremely seriously, and everyone had been in quarantine legit for a year, and now it's coming back finally. Now you've got guys like that already happened, and that just kind of feels like a one-time thing. Like it doesn't seem like, oh, let's go live in Disneyland when we've been living normally pretty much before this. It's not happening.
Yeah. And now, especially since that was just a playoff run.
Yeah.
You're talking for the rest of the season, these guys aren't going to see their family, or they're going to move their family in the bubble. It's just not. It's just not going to work out like that. Now, the other thing is, like, are they going to cancel the Christmas games? Probably not. NBA Christmas has become such a big thing to them that they will do everything in their power. But if it does get to the point where, like, if Curry and like a couple of other MVP candidates go out, it's gonna feel like a Mickey Mouse season where it's just whoever gets lucky. I saw they changed a lot of their rules.
Yeah, and the NFL did too. They were pretty much like, we're just not gonna.
Please wear a mask, and now the restrictions for bringing you back are much lighter.
Yeah,
so
it's
pretty
like
much it.
We're just not gonna maybe detect it as much. And yes,
yeah. So I would just watch out for the NBA. It does really suck. Like the gag of, hey, we have none of our players is funny like one time. Like watching some G Leaguers in the NBA, all of a sudden, because there's so many, like, oh, that's cool. These guys usually don't play. And then you have to watch it more than once, and it's all of a sudden the novelty is worn off.
For Kendall Hinton, that was me for like one drive. Like when
With
the Broncos, when they
yeah.
had no starting quarterbacks, it's like, haha, wide receivers playing quarterback.
And then
sit
it's like-
down and it's like, oh, this is miserable. I
This
can't
sucks.
watch this. They
Yeah,
have
it
no
was
chance.
bad.
Yep.
It was
They have
terrible.
no chance. But Isaiah Thomas is getting another shot.
Yes, Isaiah Thomas is getting another shot. And with him, it's the exact same thing every time. It's like, okay, he can still score. He can still get a bucket. There is no question about that. Can he defend? That is the only, if he can just be like not the worst defender in the league, he will stay on a team. If he cannot, which he is 5'9" and over 30, and that's very tough to do.
Yes.
But if he can't defend, it's going to be tough
I was
to put
about
him
to
on a
say,
team.
you're probably already having a hard time defending at 5'9".
It's always been a problem, and Stevens did a very good job hiding that for a long time, but it is tough to make that work, especially for a guy who is just a role player. It's one thing which it's like, okay, his defense is terrible, but he is the star of the team. He is fourth in MVP voting or whatever he was that one season.
Yeah.
That's different. Okay, I can live with that. But you're not settling for Trae Young defense for a guy who's playing 15 minutes a night, who you're not building around.
Right.
And the Lakers already, their defense is
Not as good as it
lacking
was
energy.
last year.
No. And
or 2
going-
years ago.
The gap between going from Caruso coming off the bench
Yeah.
defensively and IT is a lot. This is a 10-day contract. And I'm sure he will put up some great, I'm not great. I'm sure he has the potential to go and put up, however many points a game, and he's gonna play because Westbrook and Bradley and Monk are all out. So they need guards. But do not look at how many points he averages or what he shoots. We know he can do those things. Look at his defense. If he's trash, if the defense isn't there, he can score as much as he wants. I mean, unless he's going like absolutely berserk. You're just not going to take the worst defense in the league for an energy off the bench guy with a team that's already struggling
Yes.
defensively a little bit.
Well, in the event that the NBA gets shut down, we all know it's because the Cavs are too good without LeBron. And LeBron is going to force the NBA to shut down because the Cavs can't be good without LeBron.
They're gonna go back. He'll go back there eventually. I do think the Lakers stuff. Where
Well,
he's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm playing the rest
He
of my
wants
career. He's
to
like,
wait.
"Ah."
He wants to wait for them to be good until he gets back.
If he wanted to be on the Cavs, he would force a trade.
Yes.
Right now, he'd be traded for Kevin Love as we speak. But
Hasn't Kevin Love been like playing decent though?
yeah, he hasn't been playing bad. Not quite as good as LeBron. So I think it's still a trade that the Cavs would consider. But
Him retiring as a Laker does seem a little bit like bad
Doesn't make
vibes.
sense.
Him retiring as
he's retiring a Cav.
a Cav.
He
Yeah.
has to.
Oh yeah.
It would
Unless
be- it would
something
be
very weird happens, he's retiring a Cav.
I'd be very shocked if he didn't.
It'd be wrong not to. If he does a farewell tour, he's not doing a farewell tour with LA. He's got to do it with the Cavs. And the Cavs are good right now, especially
Yeah.
if they're trending up. Oh,
When is LeBron's contract up in LA?
He always does these
Couple
short
years.
little contracts and then just re-ups.
It's not to the point. He's not a free agent. I don't
it's
think
not.
he is.
It's not crazy. It's not like right this season, but it's probably pretty soon.
It's not unthinkable. It does kind of sound like a dumb thing that a fan would talk about that isn't really being considered, and you'd have to know the personal life of LeBron. But he did go back to Cleveland
Yes.
when that seems like that would have made no sense, or it'd be like a 2K my league type thing to happen. So I believe he can do it again if he wants to.
He should.
But the problem with that is that a LeBron in 2 years may not be a good enough player to build the offense around. And if he goes to the Cavs, I'm not sure they'll want to do that.
When
so
is
it's like
LeBron's son NBA eligible?
2 years.
So we get Bronny and LeBron
I
on
don't
the
know
Cavs.
if Bronny is
2
good
years,
enough to get drafted in 2 years or
3.
3. We'll see.
He is very good. He should make the NBA, but he probably won't be a lottery pick.
Right. That's the thing.
That's where it
Okay.
seems like he's trending. It's really way too early to say. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing off what I've seen, which is very little.
Interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what LeBron does. But as for this year, I mean, it's in the future. But LeBron does enjoy that. Like, we don't know. We've never met LeBron James. Full disclosure. But
Well-
I feel like I kind of know the kind of dude LeBron James is.
Yeah.
And he would enjoy very much enjoy a farewell tour in Cleveland. That's a good thing.
It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right to do it with LA.
He cares about
That's
that
wrong.
a lot.
Yes.
Like the big announcement, the decision to like announce you're going to Miami on ESPN and then returning to the Cavs. He enjoys a big spectacle, and then going to the Lakers in the first place, even when that may not have been the greatest. They were kind of bad when he went there. It may not have been the greatest fit in the world. Like he likes the spectacle. Yeah. So I do think that will eventually probably happen in some capacity.
It would be wrong for him to retire a Laker, as far as I'm concerned.
What if he retired on the Heat?
The Heat, the Heat are kind of the Heat fan base is a little wishy-washy about how much they like LeBron.
So are the Cavs, honestly.
A little bit.
But if he returned, they would pretend to love him. I think
most of them would. But I feel like there are some weird Cavs fans who still have grudges.
All right. Well, before we head out, first things first. Do we think the NFL and NBA will shut down? Each of us give a prediction for that.
The NFL, I promise you won't.
I agree.
I promise you it won't. The NBA, I think, will for a short time. I don't know if it'll be months like it was last time, but like maybe a 2-week break. Let's see what happens. Everyone stay home. That's what I'm
2
predicting.
weeks.
I think that right now the NBA's probably saying, let's make it to Christmas. Let's play our Christmas games. And then we'll think about it. We'll see if this keeps getting worse. My gut would tell me they will not shut it down.
Okay.
I think it would have to get really bad. But if you start to get some of these games where it's like all of the star players are out on both teams, and you start those type of games start piling up.
Yes.
And it just feels like this isn't even this isn't the real team for either of these teams, and it's affecting the standings. Then a 2-week break may be in order, and some tougher restrictions possibly.
I could see these leagues care about money a lot, so I could see that if it's like star players are out affecting revenue, then yeah, there's a shutdown.
Yeah.
But anything outside of that, then no, I wouldn't see that. So next on the agenda, what has been your favorite, or maybe I should say least favorite parts about LA? Because you two hated our bathroom in the hotel.
The hotel room design was funny. I don't know if it wasn't the worst. Nothing against our hotel.
It was a nice hotel. There was just some interesting design choices. Like the shower had like a woman doing her makeup like on the glass, like a
engraved in the glass.
It was very bizarre.
And the tiles were like not. The lines didn't always go the same. Like sometimes they were going vertically, and sometimes they were going like horizontally. They kind of clashed, and they were like looked like a chessboard.
It's abstract, man. You wouldn't.
But I don't think we can hold that against the city of LA entirely. So
one thing I've been to LA kind of 3 times. I've been to Pasadena, Hollywood, and now kind of downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've only spent like a day here in each place, so like even a couple hours where I'm actually like doing anything. So I don't really have I don't know what.
I'd say my least favorite part would be maybe the traffic was kind of bad.
The traffic is kind of bad a little bit. You could say that.
But I've liked it for the most part. I've only been a couple places.
Yeah,
so.
Everyone was nice. I liked the stadium.
The stadium was nice.
Haven't been here long enough to speak on it.
We had a really nice breakfast yesterday.
We had a wonderful breakfast,
and we had some nice Mexican food.
We did.
Where we all ordered the exact same thing, even though Theo is against ordering the same thing.
I did for that time.
Theo's a hypocrite.
I am. But what's one more question? What's your favorite city you've ever been to? Like one word answer.
City I've ever been to?
Ooh.
I'll start while you think. New Orleans is my favorite. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I'll go New York.
Okay.
New York is cool. Maybe living there would be a lot, but I was there for like a week, so New York.
Man, I don't know. I haven't been to that many cities, I feel like.
I know that you haven't been to that many cities because you want to say Cleveland so damn
Cleveland.
bad.
It's a toss-up between Cleveland and Sacramento, you can tell.
It is a toss-up between Cleveland and Sacramento.
That's how you know you have not been to enough cities.
I love Cleveland. I keep telling everyone that when I graduate, I'm moving to Cleveland. So you're welcome to join me if you'd like.
I think I'll pass. But
right.
Well, I'm going to go with Cleveland. But I pretty much think that wraps things up for us.
It does.
It does. As always, tons and tons of content coming your way on all platforms. Make sure, again, you review us on Spotify. They have that new feature. So we'd really appreciate helping grow us there so we can maybe take down Barstool.
that $30 million Pat McAfee contract.
That $30 million Pat McAfee contract coming our way soon, maybe. So I'm not entirely sure how we're going to do Christmas. That's going to be a little bit interesting. And that'll be something that we have to talk about. But until next time, as always, from Corn Boy, Gambling Addiction Boy, and Lemon Boy, we'll catch you on the football.
Over hit. Couldn't believe it. Let's go. The over on the Thursday game hit. Goodbye.